Hello everyone, myself Kiran Awad, and today we will see Introduction to the Databases. So, what is the agenda for this today's session is Introduction to the Database Management System. What is the purpose of this database management systems? Database system applications, then database management systems based information systems, and what are the different types of views that are present in the database management system, that is called as an abstraction or the data independence. So let's begin with what is data. So data is what the information that has been translated into a form that is more convenient to move or the process. Anything. Data means anything that we are going to store into the electronic devices. It can be images, it can be videos or text, whatever. Okay, that whatever we are going to store or convert into the storage in the electronic devices, that is called as a data. And then what is the database then? So whatever the systems we required to store the data, that that container is called as a database. So this is the what collection of the data or the information relevant to the enterprise. Actually, the database is nothing but it is a collection of the similar kind of data. So if we have the multiple kind of data in the organization, then we can create a multiple different databases to store to store the relevant data only. So this is called as a database. So what then, if you know the data, if you know the database, then we must go into the what is database management system. So database management system is again a collection of the interrelated data which is related to each other. Then the set of programs to access those kind of data. When we are going to store the data into the machine, into the electronic devices, then we need to write some codes, write some programs to access that data. So the collection of these two, the programs and the data, is combinedly called as the database management systems. And the examples for these database management systems are MySQL, Oracle, then IBM DB2 is there, Cassandra, MongoDB, HANA, SAP HANA. These are the various kind of database management systems are available in the market right now. So what are the applications of the database management systems or the databases? In the banking sector, to store the data for the customers, their transactions, their personal information, their account information. These all things that are getting stored into the data databases. Then for the airlines, again to store the data for the airline systems. Then for the universities, credit card transactions, telecommunications, finance, sales, online retailers, then manufacturing, then HR services. For these various kinds of applications are there for the database management systems. So when we know what is data, what is database, what is database management systems, then we must understand what is the need of these database management systems. First thing is that previously in the old days, we are using the file systems, the basic files, the physical files we can say. But in a physical file, there are a lot of problems arises and that problems are untackled and they are time consuming to retry the data. Also, the file systems are getting worn out. So we can see what are the problems that arise in the file systems. First major problem is data redundancy and inconsistency. What do you mean by data redundancy? Data redundancy means it is a duplication of the data. at the multiple places. For example, here given John is the student, suppose he is studying in a music department and training department also. So whatever the information John has, like his personal information and professional information, that is maintained by the music department also in one file, and training department also in a one file. So both these departments has the duplication of the John's data unnecessarily. They are wasting their space to store this data. And suppose what happens because of these duplications of the data or the multiple places? The problem is the data inconsistency. Suppose John's old address was stored in both the places, like in a music department and a training department, is a Chennai, and he is now shifted to the Pune. So Johnny just went to the music department and changed his address, Chennai to the Pune, but he forget to change the address in the training department. So now music department has his new address as Pune, and training department has only the old address, that is Chennai. Means now it is a data inconsistency at both the places. Same person data doesn't match up. They are the irregularities. This is called as an inconsistency of the data. So this will happen. This problem arises due to the file system. Next, difficulty in accessing the data. Suppose one of the manager is there and he wants the data about the customers who are staying in Pune. So what he will do? He will just ask to the data processing person, give me the data for the all customers of our organization who are staying at Pune. Now data processing person, what he'll do? He will don't have any application programs with him. So he will either obtain the list of customers and extract the needed information manually. He will just go in every customer manually one by one and identify who are staying in a Pune, who are not staying in a Pune, generate one list, and he can hand over to the manager. Another task is means another way is ask a programmer to write a necessary application program. Then by using that application, he will identify the customers who are staying in Pune, and then whatever the retrieved data is there, that data is given to the manager. So this is very big task now. Finding manually or writing an application program, then execute it, and then get the problem, then get the data. So this is the very difficult to access the data in the file systems. Next problem is data isolation. What do you mean by data isolation then? Suppose one of the chairman of one of the enterprises there, and he wants to access the students' records who are secured more than the 70% of the marks. So he has many branches, like uh, he owned many branches like branch 1, branch 2, branch 3. So every branch is maintaining their own kind of data and own file format, in their own file format. Like branch 1 has stored their data into the txt file, branch 2 has stored their data into the doc file, and branch 3 stored their data into the marks.exe file. So getting the data from these branches, different branches, to the chairman, he is getting confused because data is in a different formats. He doesn't tackle it, he doesn't combine it, and he cannot go and process it further. So to processing further or using that data for another application, he first needs to convert this different format data into the single format. Then only he can use this data for the another application or to make some decisions. This is the problem arises due to file system, that is called as a data isolation. Next problem is data integrity problem, where, for example, integrity and the consistency constraint, like account balance is greater than 25, become buried in a program code rather than being stated explicitly. Means every time user must store at least 25 rupees in the account, and always should be the greater one. That should be some constraint applied on the account. And how to manage that constraint, that will be the problem in the file system. How one can manage these things. Next problem is atomicity problem. What do you mean by atomicity? First we can understand that. Suppose the two persons are there and they have the account in one bank, and user A has 2000 in his account and user B has 1000 in his account. So user A wants to transfer 500 rupees to the B. So what operations are getting performed in the backend or in the file system? So A is equal to 2000 minus 500. A's account is just reduced by the 500 rupees. Now A has 1500 rupees and system get failed in between. What will be the amount in the B's now? B has only the 1000 rupees because addition operation is not getting performed here. B is equal to 1000 plus 500. This addition operation must get performed, but that is not getting performed due to system failure. So now the state of the database is now inconsistent. Means A have reduced the 500 rupees, but B doesn't get that 500 rupees. So B denies it and A is saying that I have already transferred to you. So what is the atomicity then? Atomicity problem or atomicity characteristics is there of the database that before and after the transaction database state must be same. What do you mean by database state? Suppose this is the database, means in the database both the account values are stored. So combinedly in a database total amount is 2000 of A and 1000 of B. That is equivalent to the 3000 rupees are there in the database of the bank. Okay, so after the transaction, again the database state, that is database amount should be same, that is 3000 rupees. Then only we can say that transaction is getting completed or it is not completed at all. There is no transaction. So what happens here? Here, in this case, the database state is getting changed because the addition of these two is 2500. So previously, before this transaction, database state was 3000, but now after the transaction, state is 2500. So this is the inconsistency in the database state. So this problem is called as an atomicity problem. Understood? Then another problem arises that concurrent access anomalies. We cannot access file system in concurrent manner. Concurrent means in a parallel manner. Simultaneously, two users are accessing the same data object, same account or same file. That is not possible in case of file system. Suppose these two, for example, these two person are there. They are having the sharing account with 1000 rupees. Okay, so from Mumbai, this person withdrawal money 500 through the ATM, and from Pune she withdrawal the money of 100 rupees at the same time. Okay, so what will be the database state now? Account will either have the 500 rupees, this one, or 900 rupees, whichever comes first, but both are come at the same time simultaneously. So database here doesn't understood कि what will be the value for me now, 500 rupees or 900 rupees or 500 or 400 rupees. 500 plus the 100 means 600 rupees are getting reduced from the 1000 rupees. So it will be 400 rupees. So what will be the my value now, new value now? So this will be tackling these problems. Simultaneous access or the concurrent access is difficult in case of your file systems, but this will be easier in database management systems. Then one more and important aspect is security problem. In file system, we cannot give the accesses to the users. Like for example, so how many number of files the admin will access, how many number of files any DBA will access, how many number of files the manager will access, CO will access, or any suppose simple worker is there in the enterprise, then what will be the access or how many files or which files should he have the access to. We cannot give this hierarchy in ordinary file systems, but it is possible with our database management systems. We can give the access, specific access to the specific user. Suppose, for example, I have given the only one file, suppose account file access to the accountant. Then he can only access the account file. He cannot access any another file like project file or any other file. He can only start the machine. He can access the account file. He can work on it, and he can shut the machine. Likewise, his work is going on. So these are the various problems we had seen that are likely to happen when we are using the file system that are solved by the database management systems. So how they are solved, we will see it in the next session, but what are the views of the data that we will see first. In the database management system, how the data is getting abstracted. So these are the different views are there that are getting maintained here by the database management system to provide the accesses, or we can say the data abstraction level of the database management system. So first is best one is data physical level, where data is stored, how the data is actually stored, in which format, that we know all the data is getting stored in the zeros and ones format in the physical level on the hard disk. Then which programming language or which method is used to convert your data into the physical level, or which programming language is used to store this data. So that is called as a logical level. Here the query languages are come into the picture at the logical level. Then at the last, view level. So actually data is stored in the zeros and one format. How to take that data, that queries are written in the logical level, and how to represent that data to the user, that is given into the view level. So representation is a totally different thing. Like we can create a GUI for it in any higher level programming like Java or .NET or PHP, Python. You can create a GUI. Whatever the data is retrieved, you can place on that GUI to visualize it. So this is what the view level, how the users will go and view the data. These are the different views of the database management system. And finally, for this session, we will see just the instances and the schemas. So what do you mean by schema then? the overall design of the database, or what is the structure of the database, what is the blueprint of the database, that is called as a schema. This is a very important concept in terms of the databases. What is the schema of that data? Okay, or what is the data model that you are using to create your data or create your databases? So this is the blueprint now. Okay, so this is the relational database actually. So this is the blueprint. This is the blank table here. Customer name, mobile number, address. I am going to enter the values for the customer name here, mobile number, address. Okay, and what will be the data type for these columns? This is the row and column format, relational database. Okay, so the customer name will be the character type, mobile number will be the number type, then address will be the suppose character and number mixed. This is the blueprint I have generated. This database table I will go and create in my machine in my database management system software, and I am just using it to store my data. Okay, this is what the schema is, a blueprint or the structure of the database. And finally, what is the instance? Instance is nothing but the particular moment at which the data is getting stored, or the collection of the data, we can say, is the instance of the data. The collection of information stored in the database at particular moment is called as a database. It describes the data structure of the database. So this is XYZ Pune. This is the structure instance of this one single this database. This is your blueprint of the database, schema of the database, and this particular is the instance of that database. XYZ instance, second instance. So thank you for today's session. If you have any query, you can write me in a comment.